So we are talking today about express entry. Express entry as the future of Canada. So I'm going to explain a little bit what express entry is all about. Express entry is a tool, it's a government policy that Canada uses to select qualified immigrants from around the world, to select qualified foreign nationals. And there are certain requirements, there are certain criteria that you have to meet before qualifying or before meeting requirements. Now, we qualify express entry as a government policy because the government of Canada keeps deciding what will happen in the next draws, in whatever draws. The government can suspend the draws till further notice and whatever, depending on what the government policy, what the government is looking for, is attained or not. Now, express entry is that tool. If I am breaking it down again, I will say the government work in collaboration with provinces. And keep in mind that all the provinces are independent. They make their own decisions, they make their own laws, and despite the fact that they make their own laws, they correlate with that of the federal. And where there is a glitch, the federal law takes precedence. Now, one of the tools is express entry. Express entry is a federal tool. There is nothing you can do about that. Express entry is controlled by the federal government of Canada. Now, express entry is divided into three different categories depending on where you find yourself. It is divided into three different categories to make sure that everybody qualifies, everybody finds a, a place within within the immigration programs. The first category of express entry is what they call federal skilled worker program. I'm going to break this down. It's a long thing. It's an entire course that took about a semester to go through. But I'm gonna squeeze it up today to make sure that everyone understands. And those that are aspiring or those that already have a file in the express entry pool, they should understand where they are and where the file is, and maybe um, how they can still work on that file. But before we go on, those watching on YouTube, you have to go to my link. You click there, click some likes and follow me and share. Those watching on Facebook, click on share, click on share, click on share, click on share, click on share. Share, 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 share. We have a lot of information today to disseminate. So a lot of you would benefit today from lots of things that I'm telling you. So here we have the Federal Skilled Workers Program as a part of Express Entry. So there are certain requirements that Canada is looking for before you qualify to become a skilled worker. I want to juxtapose the Federal Skilled Worker Program and what so many people call Canada Lottery. There is nothing like Canada Lottery. Nothing exists and has never existed like Canada Lottery. So sometimes I go out there and see a lot of documents circulated on Facebook, on other social media networks and places. and asking you to to click here and share your information. Those are identity thieves. There is nothing like Canada Lottery. It doesn't exist and has never existed. So most people they mistake what they call express entry. Express entry is a skilled immigration program, very very skilled immigration program, and they have some selected factors that we are going to talk about as we go on. Share and like my video. Share. So we have three main categories of express entry, of which I am going to be presenting the both of them at the same time. The three of them I'm gonna be we are talking about the three of them the same time, so you would easily identify where you are. So we have the federal skilled worker programs, we have the federal skilled trade programs, and we also have what they call the Canada Experience Class. Those three arms put together is called Express Entry Program. Federal skilled workers, federal skilled trade, and Canada Experience Class. Now, there are certain factors. The first one is age. Keep in mind that this program is a point-based immigration program. So everything that you are looking for is to hit the required points that the government is expecting from you. And sometimes, I'll tell you something, the points are determined by the government depending on the needs of the economy, depending on the needs of the country. For a long time, the points has been standing. If you want to go with um, what they call the point form, the government has been looking for 467 points for you to qualify to become a Canadian. But recently, the post-COVID, they have changed it. They have taken it up. The government came up with a new policy, taking that up to 511. But since then, two draws have gone through. And for the first draw, the government did not maintain 511. It came down by one, 510. And the second draw, it went down again to 495. So you see, the government uses that depending on the needs of the country. Maybe the country wants 300 people to come in, and people qualifying through that streams are not up to 100. They'll put the points down to make sure that they get more people. So that is it. Now, this point form, as I explained earlier, there are certain factors that determine them. The first one is the age. I'm not going to go right down deep to explain the details of it. We're gonna take the whole day, you know. But age is one of the factors. The younger you are, the more qualified, the more points you get. From 18 years right up to 46 years. And once you go above 46 years, then you may or you will certainly not qualify for this program. You have to go in for another program. The second one we have to look at is education. Education here, the higher the level of education you have, take it. Keep in mind that you must have at least advanced level. So once you have an advanced level certificate, then you qualify to be a part of this program. Advanced level, the least points. The higher you go up the ladder, the more the points. The higher you go up the ladder, the more the points. Now we also have work experience. I'm going to explain on that one again, as we move on. Work experience is relative, depending on the type of the express entry that you qualify. Then it will determine the number of years you have worked, the number of part-time, number of full-time, and all whatever. But you have to keep an eye on that. Then job offer, sometimes it is not really a necessity, but it will give you more backings. If you have a job offer from a Canadian industry, in my last video we spoke about job offers and the LMIA process, the labor market. We had that conversation. You have to go back there and watch. Then we also have what they call the language criteria. Now, depending on the level you find yourself, there are certain scores in your language that you take. Now, Canada has what they call the CLB, that's Canada Language Benchmark. That benchmark is matched with the kind of language test that you take. If you took IELTS, they will match the score to the Canada Language Benchmark. If you took whatever other KLCE or whatever language in French, if you took TCF or you took TEF, all those things will match it now to the language benchmark of Canada. And if you hit the necessary score that Canada is looking at, then certainly you're gonna be qualifying. The other very important factor that Canada looks at is what they call adaptability. Adaptability is technically soft landing. Do you have a family based in Canada who is a Canadian or who is a permanent resident residing in Canada? If you have that, you have plus 15 points. Imagine you just have a brother or a sister or a mother or father living in Canada and you have more points. They call that soft landing. Why? Because there is that tendency that if you don't have anybody and your proof of funds or assets are not strong enough, there is that tendency that you would run to the government for what? For social money. And that is something that the government of Canada doesn't want to hear. If in any other visa category, if you don't show strong proof that you will not be depending on the government for social money, then for sure you're gonna lose that visa. Yeah. So let's come back to language skills as an entry requirement for express entry. Now I am comparing the three different categories of express entry right now. We have the Canada Experience class, we have the Federal Skill Workers Program, and then we have the trades, what they call Federal Skill Trade. Now, starting with the English language. The English language, if you want to come into Canada as a Canadian Experience class, I want to make this clear that there are people who are living inside Canada, of which Canada is still waiting for them to come into Canada. Coming into Canada means having a permanent stay as a citizen, permanent resident. Those are people who are living inside Canada. So if you have all the temporary permits, study permits, work permits, um, all the other temporary stays in Canada that qualifies you to still go in for express entry, we are still waiting for you to come into Canada. And I would also seize this opportunity to tell you something about the knock. Those of you who have been doing Canadian immigration and stuff, you certainly must have come across the knock. NOC, National Occupation Classification. National Occupation Classification is a federal document that explains the various categories of jobs in Canada. So every job that you can imagine that people are doing in Canada is listed on the NOC. And I have a little bit of good news for you. From the 16th of November this month, the government has come up with a different public policy that will alter, it will change the law a little bit. We'll not longer be using the word NOC anymore. We are going to be using the word TEER, 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 TEER. That is training, education, experience, and responsibility. Training, education, experience, and responsibility. So, the old NOC used to have 4-digit occupation codes, but now with the swap from NOC to TIER, now it goes up to 5 digits. So we used to have 4011, 4012, but now it has changed to 40100. So we have 5 digits to explain the particular tier level that you are looking for. And now I was talking about the NOC. The NOC, you have 5 different categories, or the biggest category being category 0. So you have category 0, A, B, C, and D. And for you to qualify under the express entry stream, you have to be either category 0, category A, or category B. Anything less than that, you will certainly not qualify. But it doesn't mean that people working in those other categories will never ever qualify to become Canadian, to come to Canada. There are other immigration programs, immigration categories, especially programs run by provinces, provincial immigration programs that certainly you will qualify to come here. But keep in mind, like I said at the beginning of this video, that express entry is a government tool to get the best, to regulate immigration, to select the best foreign nationals, to settle, to contribute to development, and what have you. So now, for Canadian experience class, we have two NOCs there. We have 2 different levels. We have NOC A and NOC B. And there, in NOC A, we are looking at CLB 7 for English, while NOC B, we are looking at CLB 5. For federal skilled workers, it's a bit different. English or French, whatever, we are looking for CLB 7 for you to qualify. If you have anything less than 7, your application is thrown off the pool. For federal skilled trades, for CLB 5 and CLB 4, that's what we are looking for. CLB 5 for speaking and listening, and CLB 4 for reading and writing. So that is simple. So here, remember, we are looking at the trades, and many people who are doing the trades, they are not really well schooled, well educated compared to people doing general education. That's where all the doctors and all the whoever people they live. But for the trades, you have their small cap, baccalaureate, and stuff like that, and they qualify to start making their money. So we are looking at speaking and listening 5 CLB, and reading and writing 4 CLB. Easy. Now for type of work experience as another requirement in Canada Express and Canada Experience class, here we are looking at CLB at at NOC 0, A and B. For federal skilled workers, it's the same 0, A and B. For federal skilled trade, it's only NOC B. Now, NOC 0, keep in mind that I said it's one of the biggest, the highest, the most respected. We are talking about senior managerial positions, like the Director General of United Nations, that's NOC 0 and stuff like that. Meanwhile, a carpenter who graduated from a college or university close to your house is certainly going to be an upbeat. He has never been the Director General of OAU or whatever. Works like that. Now, the amount of work experience also here is a little bit different. So 1 year in Canada in the last 3 years, you qualify to become permanent resident under express entry under Canadian experience class. It can also the 1 year can also be a combination of part time. There's number of hours that count, 30 hours and above. Now, to qualify as a federal skilled worker, you also need 1 year in the past 10 years. Remember, the first one is 1 year in the past 3 years. That's Canada Experience class. The second one is 1 year in the past 10 years. And then the trade, you need 2 years in the past 5 years of continuous work experience. So it's not like you're gonna work for 1 day today and tomorrow you go home. No, it's you need to put together all these bits and pieces to give you the number of hours that you need to qualify. Now, job offer to for a Canadian experience class, job offer is not a requirement. You don't need to have a job offer before you qualify. For federal skilled worker, it is not also a requirement. But guess what? It can scale you up. It can scale you up. It can give you some extra points, a lot of extra points. Depending on the CLB you find yourself, that's how the points keep going up. So it's a necessary tool, but it is not a requirement. So keep that in mind. For the trade, for the federal skill trade, a valid job offer of full-time employment for a total period of 1 year is a requirement. So if you want to come like a trade under the trade, what you need a job offer of continuous full-time employment, or what? Or you need to show proof of a certificate of qualification in that trade. And that certificate of qualification must be gotten in Canada. So it means you must have been here, you must have partly studied here, and you must have gotten a certificate maybe in plumbing, maybe in carpentry, maybe just those trades. You need to show a proof that you are a member of the board, controlling that area, or maybe you are part of a system that is not controlled by a board, but you need to get that that certificate only from Canada before that certificate is uh, is accepted for you to become a permanent resident in that category. Otherwise, you need a job offer of continuous 1 year promise that we are not going to kick this man off. We are going to keep this man here for the next 1 year. We are not going to throw him out, and that is a kind of special job offer. So if you have that job offer, it qualifies you to become a Canadian permanent resident. So basically, there are other smaller categories that you can look at. Something like adaptability, what you have learned, what you know, what somebody in Canada can benefit from you, like from your expertise, from from what you know. You know, somebody in Canada, like a Canadian, needs to benefit something from you before you are accepted to be giving those extra points, and it goes up to 50 points for adaptability. So it's a point based immigration system, of which once you hit that number of points, you qualify. I'm going to tell you a very interesting thing. Majority of immigration programs in Canada that has what they call officers discretion are temporary resident programs, in which an officer will decide that I'm not going to give you my visa because I'm not sure that you're going to leave Canada at the end of your stay. The officer decides that decision stands. It is only the court that can ask for an alternative judgment. That officer sitting there represents the minister, and whatever decision he takes, that decision is taken by the minister. And guess what? The minister can never cancel the decision unless the court comes in and says that this particular visa decision or whatever should be revisited. You know, they call that process judicial review. It's gonna be a talk for another day. It's a long thing. So that is it. Today we spoke about. I'm rounding up. I'm gonna take 5 minutes for next few questions, but I'm gonna just give a quick summary. So we spoke about Canada Express entry, and Canada Express entry. We have three main categories. To become a permanent resident following the Canadian Express entry system, we have the Canadian Experience class, we have the Federal Skill Walk-up programs, we have the Federal Skill Trade programs, and we come to understand that certain categories are put in place and you must meet those requirements. The first one is age, we have the language, we have the jobs, the type of jobs, we have the experience, the number of years you have put in. We have adaptability, which explains that if you have a family in Canada, a brother, sister, when we talk about family class, it is family class. There's a marked difference in the law between family class and family member. So we are talking here about direct family, brother, sister, mother, father, grandfather. That is a direct family. So if you have any of them here, you have extra points that will push up your points. And like I said, this is a point-based immigration system of which the officer has no discretion. You hit the number of required points, you get a permanent resident. So if you are working on your file, or if you have family or friends who are working on that file for you, you have to be straight up with them. You have to tell them that here we are looking for the points. We are looking for the points. You have to take the English exams, you have to take the French exams. It can be IELTS, it can be TCF, it can be TAF, it can be whatever exams, but know that that exam is matched to what they call CLB. CLB is Canadian Language Benchmark, and the list that CLB requires for you to immigrate in Canada depends on the kind of express entry stream that you want to follow. Canada Experience class is different. Canada Federal Skill Worker is different. Canada Federal Skill Trade is different. So you have to look at those things to match them. But keep in mind, it is a point-based immigration system, and officers' discretion doesn't count. So this is the best immigration program that you, with a little bit of education and hands-on experience, can follow, can use, become a Canadian. are open for question for now. So I take just 2 questions, and we're gonna drop it there. I'll wait for you in the next video. But you have to click the share and the like button. You have to tell your friends that we were here and we learned something. And it's so important for people who are willing to immigrate and settle in Canada with their families. So there are it's a lot of materials that we can put together. My email is there on the link. My WhatsApp number for my company is there. You can hit them up, follow us, like us, go to my WhatsApp, to my website right there that you see. Click on it, and you do a free assessment. That assessment is not paid for; it's free. It takes just 2 minutes. Do a free assessment. Key in your details and find out if you and your family or you alone can qualify to come to Canada. If it gives you a pop-up that you maybe qualify, get in touch with me and we're gonna take your case. We're gonna push that case to the end up until you find yourself here. Yes, it can take some time, but it is worth it. So this is the best thing that can happen to you. This is the best thing that can happen to your family. Like I said, immigration is what we do here. Watch out and make sure you hit the correct people who matters, people who can bring changes to you and your family, rather than going out there and making wrong decisions. And at the end of the day, you are scared of everybody. So go to my website, do a free assessment. There is a phone number there. There is a WhatsApp pop up there. Click there and have a conversation with one of our representatives here in the firm. And any questions that you have, we're gonna answer that for you. I'll take one question. All right, I'm not gonna keep you guys here for a long time. I know Express Entry. Ever since I started teaching, Express Entry is not a beautiful thing. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes to be looking at all the details. It's so intense. So I'm gonna keep it short here. I'm gonna jump out from this live video. But if ever you want somebody to represent you, get in touch with us. If you have a family in Canada that is going through immigration issues, get in touch with our company and we're gonna do them for you. If you want to immigrate with your family, if you have a son, you have a daughter, you want that child to come study in Canada, get in touch with us. We're gonna give you very very fair, affordable prices, and it's gonna be something to live with, something to remember. Until then, you have a beautiful time, and it was nice talking to you all. Goodbye.